abandon you, but
one-on-one?
All right.
it's just,
Oh, I think he's coming back.
I just have too much.
Your microphone.
Thank you.
We have to make it more clear. For
Is
the
there
live
people
stream.
on? Is there somebody on?
Not on Zoom, but we're live.
Is tomorrow the volunteer day?
Ah,
Man.
okay.
Yeah.
Live streaming to YouTube. So is that like, so no cussing, I guess?
Probably not.
All right, I'll try to keep that in friggin' mind. No, I'm just kidding.
Right, the clicker works. I've got on live from
Sure, I'll see you.
Hot in here.
See you next week.
Yeah.
Monday,
Wednesday,
so.
Monday, I'll be here most likely.
Well, it was 1 week and then I'll
Either freezing or
take a
too
week
warm.
vacation.
I never know which.
That's for the money.
I know, I missed the past 2 days. I'm like,
Yeah, you guys are all good to
I
go.
was gonna be here every day.
I know, it's hard, it is, so. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll give him a couple minutes to come back.
Yeah.
Do you need to take a break?
No, but they have these printed out for the first class.
What is that?
The,
Is that all the handouts?
yeah, the handouts. Okay, so they weren't giving handouts because they kind of expected you to buy the book. And then,
We have to buy the book?
well, they said you don't have to, but you can. And then they gave,
Yeah, you could print the 380 some odd pages if you want.
she sent it electronically. So then I was like printing out a few of those pages and bringing them with me. Because they weren't printed, then they started printing them out. So it's kind of all over the place. So for this one, I guess they didn't print them out.
Okay, well, what we can do is,
I
when we're done, we can
Oh, and I, no, you know what, I have it on here.
print them.
I have it right here.
Okay. So. Just, a little bit like, yeah. Okay, so we've got an hour and a half to cover essentially an 8-hour class. So we're gonna start with who I am. Let's see. All right, so my name's Mark Rankin. I'm an agent here at Keller Williams. Been in real estate 20 years. Been here since about 17, I think. Was with another brokerage beforehand, came to Keller Williams, followed Peter, loved Peter, and stayed here because I really love the culture here. So what we're gonna get started, see what we can do here. Okay, the telemarketing warning. Where is that change? So what I can tell you about the TCPA is I'm not going to read this verbatim for you. You're all adults. You are more capable of reading it. It's a very real thing. It can make or break a career if somebody complains because you've called them and they're on the do not call list, or you've texted them, you've reached out to them in some way. Email's not there yet, but it will be. So if you've reached out to somebody and they're on it, they complain, Keller Williams can be found. So what I always recommend is when you're starting out, if you're not buying leads and all that stuff, a purchase lead or a lead on an open house marketing campaign you send out there on social media or something, those are people asking for more information about the property. So that allows you to reach out to those people. What I generally do with things like that, when you capture those type of leads, is I'll send them all the information on the property that they've hit on, and usually by email, with a nice cover letter saying, if you'd like to know more about this or other properties, here's my contact information, here's my Calendly link. Jump on a call. Let's talk your process, whatnot. Or if you have a question about this, I don't do cold calls, FISBOs. I don't do any of that. Those are great programs. If that's part of the business you want to build, just, focus and go on it. What people try to do is they try to do everything. And when you do everything, you do nothing right. So if you focus on one or two main, your sphere, obviously, but if you focus on one or two main topics of business building, and just keep going at that, that's generally going to be enough to get you started and grow a business from that. Just something as simple as farming your neighborhood, door knocking your neighborhood, door knocking open houses, doing open houses for other agents, because I hate them. They're time consuming. They take a lot of time. I don't do them often. So I like to give them out to other people. So you can do an open house for me, door knock the neighborhood, and take a little short flyer with you, meet people, maybe pick up a buyer or a seller. I door knock in the neighborhood. Those are easy ways to build around that. But the TCPA says don't call somebody on the do not call list. Don't use auto dialers, things like that. Because auto dialers are just, they're too, and just be very, start with your sphere, start with any leads that you've been forwarded. And then, work your neighborhoods. But very important to don't get yourself in a bind by, because there are whole programs out there to teach people how to sue for a TCPA violation. And, I think there's been some reports like a one-time violation, like $1,500, and there's companies that have marketing platforms, and we all get them all day long, but we're not going to be the people who do it. Keller Williams has been sued in the past for a TCPA violation. I think it was out in Florida, and they paid a lot of money. So we're definitely just don't call people if they're not an appropriate lead. Don't pull random numbers and just start calling them. Again, this is all disclaimers talking about, if you use AI, everybody's going to use AI. I got agents that will go in and use AI to answer a question. Just know enough about the topic to know whether AI should be currently, until you get really versed in it, should just help you put your thoughts into words. If you're using AI to give you the answers, realize that AI isn't, it's like if it's on the internet, it must be true. Same with AI. It's on the internet. It could be true. AI is getting better every day, but searching AI for answers and then using those answers without trying to vet some of those responses is a little dangerous. And then copyrighted materials. Okay, so where we're at today. So we've been through 13 sessions. Today is beginning of the last 7. We're going to do is, so have you guys felt like these classes have kind of given you some value?
Yes.
A little bit, okay? Give you some ideas on how to build your programs. Like I brought my buyer's guide. I didn't cut it correctly and I didn't use the right printer, but to give you a general idea, if you want to take a look at that afterwards, we can do that. But so today is when the buyer, I think, I don't know if it's not tomorrow then, but I think it's whenever your next class is when the seller, which is buyers are it's a pretty easy process. So you've covered everything all the way up through your value proposition, your lead generation, lead follow-up. And that's what got us here today is working with buyers. So from here on out, we're going to discuss the topics of working with buyers. So did all that. Okay, so we're talking about A buyers. Who could tell me what an A buyer is? Anybody remember the definition of an A buyer?
I'm just going to say the most important one you should focus on.
An A buyer, because there's a lot of different programs. Like I have a program that ranks your buyers, ranks your clients based on whether they're ready, willing, and able buyer. That's an A buyer. Ready, willing, and able. They want to buy a house. They're looking now. That's a buyer that's pretty much in the next 3 months wanting to buy a house. So you've got your now buyers, you're going to buy this year buyers, your people that are considering buying, people working on their credit. There's so many different buyers out there. You might have a buyer that has bad credit, just got it's got through a divorce or had a bankruptcy, or maybe they just got too much debt to income. Those are all buyers. But your A buyers are buyers that you're going to set up an appointment, you're going to meet them, you're going to do the buyer consultation, you're going to get all their Q&As done on what they're looking for, areas, bedrooms, baths, all the amenities they're looking for. And you're going to set them up, start showing them houses. So an A buyer is a guy and gal wants to buy a house today. That is who we're going to focus on. But every one of your clients is in your database. Let me ask you, how many people do you have in your database?
So I'm not licensed yet.
Okay. How many people are in your phone? Roughly.
I think about 300.
Okay. How about you?
200 in the database-ish.
Okay. You have spouses, kids? friends, family members, mom and dad. So we got people that also have databases, people that know and love them. So what you want to do is you're going to start to, I do apologize. I thought I put that on file. My buddy spam calling me. And he calls me all the time, never leaves me alone. We don't do this. We're not going to be spam. Because what you don't want to do, plus if you violate the TCPA, you might not necessarily end up with a complaint filed against you, but you could end up having them, because it's very easy now for somebody to go in and identify you as spam as a not wanted call without ever doing it. It's like I get these and I can just go click, and it sends a report, says it's spam. You get enough of those and your phone becomes labeled as spam by the carriers. And then you're calling your clients, and if they don't have you in their phone as a contact, it's going to come up as probable spam. And the problem is, like, every business in real estate that tries to sell will want to sell you their junk. And a lot of great programs, a lot of great training, a lot of great programs, a lot of great sources you can use to build your business. But most of them will come up as spam because they do a lot of cold calling, they do a lot of, and it's very easy to just go click, and you get a handful of those and you're identified as spam. So most of these are just companies calling to they want to take my money and provide me some value. So just don't become a spam, but we don't want to become a spam.
Mark, before you go on, you mentioned a couple sentences ago about a system that you use to like qualify or like rate leads. How do you do that?
Okay, so there are so Keller Williams has a program about we talk about tags right in your command system. So you go into you put somebody in your command, you're gonna tag them. You know, so maybe you tag them with seller or buyer. And if you want to talk to your sellers, you can go in, pull all your seller tags, and it'll pull up everybody in your database that are sellers. I tag people by, like, I have a previous life in law enforcement, so I tag people by law enforcement. So in case because I run and I tag people military based. I run a heroes program, so the heroes program I tag with that. But essentially on a, like, your A buyer. So you, like, somebody who's looking to buy today, you would tag them in A as an A buyer, and then you create a smart plan, so you'll create a contact sheet. So you can go in when you're on your contacts, it'll say, you can click the drop down and it'll tell you which contacts. It'll say all contacts, or you can set up different contact sheets. So if you got 300 people, it's very difficult to get through, because we talk about different types of touch programs, and I'm getting way ahead of all that. But a touch program is how many times you reach out to that person in the course of a year. There's a 52 touch, there's like emails and phone calls and text messages, mailers, like birthday cards, whether you see them out, meet them for coffee, or so they're all considered touches. And being first of mind, so you can remember usually this, like we talk about soap detergent. You remember the soap detergent that you use currently, maybe the one you used last, and maybe some catchy commercial, right? You want to be the catchy commercial, because if they're not using you now and you're putting out marketing, social media or whatnot, you want to be that catchy commercial. So you got to be first of mind, because there are a lot of real estate agents, and you don't have to be phenomenal in this business to get all the business. There's enough business for everybody. It's people who are aggressive, who are hungry, who get out there, put their name out there, or friendly. They're able to connect with people. They listen. Those are the people who are going to do great. So an A buyer is a tag in your command system. So how I rank them is A buyers, A pluses are people looking to buy. There are people that I've showed house to this week. Those are my A pluses. My A buyers are people in the next 90 days going to buy. A minuses might be people that I'm incubating. They haven't done the pre-approval yet, but we're working on it. B buyers might be my previous sphere. Those might be everybody I've sold to before. Your A buyers could also be like your immediate family. And I've got a sheet I can give you. We can make a copy of it. Basically just labels everybody. So like when you're qualifying somebody as a buyer as a buyer or seller in your database, you can go to this and be like, okay, So they've not used me or referred me. I've had good business conversation with them and they're ready to go. So we'll call them a B plus buyer. And then that way, when you're doing your daily contacts, you contact people first who are your A pluses. You do your A pluses, your A's, your A minuses, and you work your way down to your B pluses. And so you got people, your C's and your D's might just be people who you know that aren't ready to buy and sell. Maybe they're renting and they don't want to buy, or maybe they're waiting for their career to get through their initial stage and then they'll buy. So you're gonna rank them in there and you're gonna touch them based on how they're ranked. So lead generation is about putting people in your system, setting them up on a smart plan, and then following your business, your daily business requirements in command. So when you open up your command, it's going to have task lists. And you're going to set everybody up on a smart plan. Birthday smart plan, home anniversary smart plan. Even if you didn't sell them the house, but they're a good friend of yours, or they're your cousin, they have a house, family member, friend, neighbor, somebody that knows you, likes you, and trusts you. You're going to set them up on a home anniversary. You're going to look up their house, put their address in the system. You're going to put them in a home anniversary when they bought their home. And then it's going to remind you to reach out and say, hey, I just wanted to tell you that I saw where I was driving past your house the other day. And I saw your house and I noticed that you bought your house back in 2013, right? Yeah, it's been 10 years. Would you like to know how much your house is worth today, 10 years later, or 13 years later? Would you like to maybe know what your neighbors' houses are selling for, so that you know what, in your neighborhood, you've lived there a while. You don't have to buy, you don't have to be ready to buy stuff now, but you can stalk your neighbors' houses. I can set that up for you, send you my app. And people, so there's all kinds of ways you can have conversations with your A buyers. And that's a whole nother class. This is just about getting you to the point where you can have a meaningful conversation with somebody. You can get them to agree to meet you. And then you can go through your value proposition. You guys have worked on that, right? You worked on creating your value proposition. What's so great about you?
Probably in one of the first classes.
Yeah.
It's been a
So
while.
what's great about you? Are you trustworthy? Will you put your clients' needs above your own? Because that's a difficult thing to do. Not a lot of agents in this business do it. They see that their Duke bill's coming and they don't have any money. So it's very difficult to put the client's needs above the agent's needs, because I want to get them under contract so they can buy a house so that I can pay my Duke bill. Problem is, how you should look at it is you want to find the very best house for them, for their needs, for their future value, their growth, their game plan as far as, are they going to house hop every couple of years? Are they going to live in this 3 to 5 years? Do they plan on staying here for 30? So you got to figure all that out with your buyer consultation. And then when you find them the right house, it's aligned with their needs, their goals, their dreams, and they're going to be a client for life for you, because that's what you want. You want the person you work with to refer their friends, family, neighbors. So like if you have 300 some odd people in your database, how many people you got in your database?
Probably about 200.
Okay, so you sell him a house, and now he absolutely loves how great you found the best house for him. You walked into the process. He feels like he could do your job now. You've trained him so much. And now he's got 200 people in his database. And who's he going to refer to an agent that he truly loves, to everybody he knows? So there's a promise program. I promise to give you an A+ buying platform. Because when I'm done, you're going to love everything about the process. You're going to have a great time, learn a lot, get a great house. All I ask you is, if I get an A+ rating from you, I want you to tell your friends, family, and coworkers about me, so that I can also provide them the very same service I provided you. And so we're building by building a core group of raving fans. That's what you want. You want every client you've ever dealt with to love the process, love how you help them, feel comfortable and peaceful and not super stressed. You're going to absorb all the stress of, because buying a house is probably one of the most stressful. It's like marriage, divorce, kids, in house, right? Maybe getting a job, getting a job. I don't know, but that buying a house is extremely stressful. You're going to juggle a lot of those for other people. So you're going to have to carry a lot of their stress and make the process for them seem smooth and easy. They're gonna be like, oh, and everybody wants to get in real estate. Oh, real estate's real easy. It's a piece of cake. You make it, if they work with an agent, made it look super easy, then yeah, they want to get in real estate because they think it's super easy. But it's not. It's a matter of systems. And the system we're going through today is the buyer system. So we talk a little, I'll give you guys my name and my number. You can put me in your phone. If you have questions, hit me up. I'm just down in this far corner and I'll answer any question you have throughout the rest of your career. Just reach out to me. But we want to, we're going to skip this 5-minute conversation because we just wasted, I'm sorry, we didn't waste it. We took out our 5 minutes. I want to try to stay as much on track as possible. We talked a little bit about what is an A buyer and how to rank all our other buyers. And when you get very much into that as we go along. But and this is a very simple thing. What happens with people is they talk to people on the phone or in person, and people don't ask for the appointment. I don't narrowly say, I usually will come up with something like, hey, have I answered all your questions for right now? No? Okay, what else you got? We answer all the questions like, well, why don't we sit down and let's build out your platform. Let me ask you some questions. So we look at 5 houses, not 500, and we can narrow that down to the perfect house for you. How about like, let's meet on Wednesday for a coffee. And then usually you go back and forth and you'll figure out a time and you get them to the appointment. So the main thing about it when you're talking to people on the phone or in person is ask for the flipping appointment. Say, we need to sit down and, well, I'm not ready to buy yet. Well, you're going to be ready in a few weeks. Well, now's the time to start looking so that when you are ready to start to buy, if we've got all these systems in place, we've done your pre-approval, we've done your home, well, the quality of home search that we want to do. And we're going to move you into so when you're ready to start looking, we've got all that done. That seems fair. When can we spend? I need 15 to 30 minutes of your time to go through this process. And I can come to you if you know them. If you don't, if they're a complete stranger, it's in the public or here. We don't want to meet strangers at their home. And we don't want the first time we meet somebody to be at a showing, because that can be a colossal waste of time. Because they could be like, well, they have to have a driveway, but they saw the house look pretty. And they won't ever buy a house without a driveway. And you go take an hour out of your day, show them a house, and it doesn't have a driveway. And the parking on the street is horrendous. But so we'll get to that. So always ask for the appointment. And we talk get that. All right. So we're talking about, anybody know what this is? You guys should have seen this. If you guys got the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, the MREA, have you guys bought that? I know it's a lot of expense.
Actual paper book, but I
Okay.
put it on Kindles.
So they have 2 different paper books. They've got the regular, soft bound book, and then they've got a facilitators model. It has like tab sections. I love the tab sections. A little bit more money, but it's so that book, if you have it on Kindle, read it. If they have it on Audible, you can listen to it in the car. I've probably been through the MREA 6-7 times. And every time I go through it, I still learn stuff. Okay, so in the MREA, this is called the lead generation database model. So basically you got all these people out here, and a lead capture is somebody that's come to you in one way, shape, or form, whether they come through an open house, they fill out your open house sheet, you do an open house for somebody, or your lead capture is your people in your phone. If you go to laundromat, you're picking up your clothes, and you're like, oh, you can segue into why you needed a business to pick it up the laundromat because you're in real estate. You had a showing tonight and all your clothes were dirty. And thank God they've saved your life. So if they ever need any help with either valuing their business, and you have to speak with the commercial agent for that, or if they're looking to buy, sell, or invest, or you want to know what their home is worth for like a home equity pull-out purposes or things like that, you didn't even hand them your card. So you're gonna carry cards with you everywhere you go. Everyone you meet, somehow or another, you're gonna segue into that you're in real estate. And you're going to be friendly, and you're going to try to engage and have meaningful conversation with them about their needs and you about real estate. Okay, so qualified buyer is somebody that's so you've got this wide data. You've got 300 some people or 200 some people in your database. None of those are not A buyers. Qualified buyers, buyers ready, willing, able to start buying a house like now. And it says in the book in the next 10 to 14 days. When I look at that, is if you're in the next 10 to 14 days, that you should have done all this already if they're 10 to 14 days out. So I say if they're wanting to start looking this summer, that's an A buyer for me. Because there's a lot to do to get them to where, because what you don't want to do is have them look at 50 houses, and it takes 50 houses to educate them on what they want in a home or a location. Because people will, first time you meet somebody, they're like, I don't know, I don't care where I live. I rent right now, I'm here. So you're going to ask them qualifying remarks like, what about family? How about drive to family? What about kids? What about driving to work? Think about rush hour. If you work on the west side and you live in, Claremont County, just remember every day to and from, you're gonna either run down into Kentucky or come straight across 275, and that is a wonderful trip, either direction you go. So you're gonna ask those questions and you're gonna narrow down what's the best areas to start their search. Now, they may deviate. I've had people that have born, raised on the west side that we start looking at a house on the west side and they throw me one in Amelia. And I'm like, okay, so then we go to Amelia and they buy it. But for the most part, people stay where they're comfortable. The east siders stay on the east side, the west siders stay on the west side. Every now and then you get some crossover, but there's usually a reason for that. So once you get people in your database, you want to get them down into a lead, and that's people you work with, and then so in that center section there, it's people who are in that. Yes, they're willing to sit down with you. They're willing to have meaningful conversations about buying a house. So everything you do is about looking through your database, which is people know, like, and trust you, and people that are referred to you, people that hit on your different systems, your open houses and things, about contacting them and finding out if they're going to be a buyer, which is it's people you want to work with today. It's all about getting them to A. I don't know why that's okay. Wish I could move that top bar there.
Oh, yeah, if you hit more,
Would that take it out?
yeah, the three dots on the right, and then go down and get to
This makes
hide floating meeting.
hide video panel, no,
It's the one below that.
hide floating meeting. Oh, perfect, there we go. All right, that gives us a little bit better picture on it. Okay, so this is a 7-step buyer service cycle. It's in your guide if you want to go to that. This is basically how to convert, how to keep track of your buyers from leads to prepare them for the buyer consultation, finding a home, offer, negotiate, contract close, and post-closing system. So when we talk about those, so first is lead generation, lead follow-up. So lead generation is calling your sphere. Those are people that know, love, and trust you. Calling the leads that come into your pipeline, somebody, a friend of a friend. You're talking to somebody at your, who has a current job today? Anybody? This is it? We're in real estate?
Yep.
Nothing else? Awesome. Okay, so you have past careers?
Yes.
Okay, so past career friends, people that still know and like you. So you can reach out to those people. There a lot of them are in your phone, some of them are not, but you want to reach out to those people and try to cultivate from your past life. And if you were hated at work in your past life, maybe don't call. But most of the times you've got a number of good, solid work friends, and you can reach out to them and bring them into the fold. And today we're going to talk a little bit about preparing for your buyer consultation. Then the actual buyer consultation, which is it's a fun part for me, just sitting down and finding out what kind of real estate dreams people have. And then on day 16, I think we're 14? Are we 14? Yeah, we're 14. Day 16, we talk about finding a home. 17, 18 is offer and negotiate contracts. And then 19 is contract to close and a post-closing system. All these are very important as far as cultivating a buyer, right? Contract to close, what happens is a lot of agents, once they get to that closing table, it's thank you so much, got my check, moving on to the next one, never any follow. There is so much follow-up, so much value you can give a client who has just bought a home, just sold a home, that it's ridiculous. It's not just about bringing new people in, it's about cultivating those relationships that you built over helping them with one of the greatest, most financial, demanding financial decisions of their life. So you prepared yourself to show your leads and context with the value you bring, right? We talked about value. Your value might not be, I've been in the business for 20 years. Your value might be the company you work for, the mentors that you have, being able to answer questions, open, honest communication, being there for your client. All that is going to be value. And we just got to go back to your value add and make sure that you're able to articulate everything you bring to the table. Because you can beat out an agent that's been doing this for 20 years. You can win a client over because clients want to work with people they know, like, and trust, and that are knowledgeable in the industry. And what you don't know in this industry, you can find out. You can get the answers. You can get them good, solid, professional answers back to them, very reasonable, through the Keller Williams network and the agents that know those answers for you. Okay. All right. So anybody have any questions about this buyer service cycle? Obviously, we're at the leads to appointments, prepare the buyer consultation, just kind of where we're at today. Any questions about how this works? This is basically just a cycle of a buyer. Because once you get to, post-close systems, it's about, helping them with maintenance, upgrades, property values, concerns or complaints or issues with the title when it comes up, or problems with the house, problems with zoning, anything at all, anything at all that comes up, problem with the house, whether they want to ask you. But I had a client call me yesterday, asked me about they want to upgrade their bathrooms. They upgraded the primary bathroom, which is considered, it used to be considered the master bathroom. Primary bathroom is the bathroom of the primary bedroom or the owner's bedroom. And they updated that, and high end, they put in steamers, they put in towel warmers. I mean, they really went all out, put a heated floor in. I'm like, okay, that's great. Because I always tell people, you upgrade your house to your needs. And then if those needs align with future value propositions of what would increase the equity of that home, that's a win-win. She has a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. She doesn't have any room to put another bathroom in. And she wanted to do the second bathroom by removing the tub shower and putting another shower in. So owning a family home, I said, you can do that, but what's the purpose of that? She wants to upgrade it. I said, well, you upgraded the primary bathroom, right? That's the owner's suite. That's where your sellers are gonna lay their head at night and use that bathroom. A hall bathroom, who's that gonna be for on a 4-bedroom house? She goes, kids. I'm like, so are you trying to alienate the toddlers? Because toddlers don't do showers, they do baths. And if you don't have a bath, that's gonna, a family with younger kids is gonna want a tub. So keep a tub shower. And she's like, we're not ready to sell right now, this. So she's like doing the back pedal. She knows I'm gonna start, calling her all the time. I call her all the time anyway. She's a good friend. And so I put her in my database as a touch. So I only reach out to her. I'm going to reach out to her again and ask about the bathroom. Ask if I can come see it. I'd love to see what they've done. I'm going to ask about what they did with the second bathroom, if they've updated that. Ask them if they need any contractors. I've got great contractors, and you should start building those folks. It's not who people is at this point. It's not people who love you. It's people who do a great job at a reasonable price. So you're going to have the handyman all the way up to a full house renovation team. And you want to have those all in your database. That's an affiliate database that you want to have contacts with. Same as you got to have lenders, and you got to have title companies that you work with, know, love, and trust. So you're going to build out the database, home inspection companies, all of that. Even appraisers, because you'll have people that want to appraise their property before they go down that road of selling it. And so you're going to want to be able to reach out to some very well-trained, well-knowledgeable, friendly appraisers that you can bring in and do an off-market appraisal on a property. So, figuring out how to get the leads into an appointment is very important. So we're gonna go to the next. If anybody got, right now, we're on the AHA section. Maybe, maybe not. And I don't know why I all of a sudden died. Biscuit. Right. Not gonna work here. Okay. Go through the AHA. So on, any questions covering, just how to rank your buyers, how to get them into your database. And we're talking a little bit about command and how to put them in command. Do you guys played around in command yet?
I have not.
Not yet. We gotta do that. Do you need, so have they set you up with any of that?
No,
So you're still in classes.
I've already taken my class. I just need to take the exam.
So it's cram.
Yeah.
So what you gotta know is cram it all in, take the exam and then forget it, because then you gotta learn how to be a real estate. So, and you're working. So you've got command set up.
I'm at the Chivalry group, so we use follow.
Oh. Yeah, so Peter's got a great program to get you through that. So that's great. All right, so we'll take these things, how to take those A leads, those people who are looking to buy, and get them into an appointment. There we go. Okay. So first thing you want to make sure you do is if it's a lead that comes in, like somebody says, hey, here's my good buddy at work, name and phone number. They are looking to buy a house. They don't have an agent. Waiting to call them is terrible, right? So you want to call them right away. So ask the person who's referring them to you, when's a good time for me to reach out to them? Are they working today? What time do they get off? Can I touch base with them? Maybe they get off at 4, call them at 5, give them time to get home, get settled, do something like that. You want to get all the contact information, right? Whether it's if you call somebody and they're a friend of yours and you're just catching up, talking about meeting for coffee and catching up, whatever, somebody from, you can reach out to everybody in your high school group. There is a lot of people that remember you from high school. I mean, I've been out of high school for a very long time, like 5 years, 5 years out. And you can reach out to those people and just rekindle that relationship, because we are in a relationship business. Being in real estate, because I'm kind of a hermit crab myself, kind of like I'd be more preferred to stay at home than to be out meeting people and whatnot. So real estate has helped me broaden my horizons, helped me get out there and meet people, be more friendly, make some friends, and I think that's a very good thing. So when you do meet somebody that has an interest in real estate, even if they're like, hey, can I check back with you? I know you're not ready to sell your house now, or you're not ready to buy a house now. You're still waiting on getting that first job, or maybe you're getting a promotion, trying to pay off the debt. Whatever it is, we want to capture that information: name, phone number, date of birth, email address, as much current address, as much information as you possibly can to get in command. You'll notice when you're putting a person into database command, it's a 0 to 100%. That's putting in kids' names or spouse's name, putting their spouse's information in. That's literally backfilling the entire command contact sheet. So when if you have friends in your phone right now that you don't have their email address, you don't have their home address, you don't have their email address, how are you going to send them an email? How are you going to, you could things like you don't know their birthday, so you can't send them a birthday card or call them up, wish them happy birthday, unless Facebook reminds you to say happy birthday to somebody. So building out, getting a hold of those leads right away, and getting as much information as you can, at least on a person that you don't know. That's a referral. You want name, phone number, spouse's name if there's a spouse involved, their phone number, email address for both of them. And if you can get all of that, then that's the beginning of a nice contact in your opportunity section, and it'll allow you to set the appointment. And then when you meet them for the appointment, you're going to have a sheet for them to fill out. And so, and part of your goal is to not only, and you don't have to present that sheet at the beginning of your opportunity, your sit down with them. Maybe it's all about your value proposition and what they're looking to get into. Ask questions, leave a lot of room for answers. And then as you start showing them houses, you meet people, say, and maybe you ride on a house. One of the forms you're going to fill out is that getting to know you form. It's going to be the kids' names, the birthdays, uh, where they work, all that stuff, dreams, goals, aspirations. You know, the sheets are vast, and then you could have them fill it out with you. You can give them to take home to fill out, but you want to get that information because you tell them that you are not only just going to be there to help them buy, sell, and invest in real estate, but you're also going to help them maintain that investment because houses don't maintain themselves. They constantly need little tweaking here and there, work, maintenance, upgrades, and you're going to help them build equity in the home. So anytime they want to do something to their home, from changing the flower beds to putting in a second bathroom to knocking out a wall, you want to be the person they call so that their goals and dreams about that property align with future value. Because we know, being in this industry, that people don't, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, adults bought a house and that was it. I mean, they bought a house and they lived in it till they died. That's not the case. And we run a whole program about how to house hack or house hop. Like, you buy your first home. Your first home that you can afford today is not necessarily going to be the home that you want to live in, 10 years from now, let alone 30, 40 years from now. So you want to be that age that's going to help them grow and maintain their value in that home, build that equity, give them pointers, talk up, you're going to be there for them if their interest rate drops, if the interest rate drops below their interest rate and then a refinance is in order for them, or whether they want to do a home equity line of credit, all of that. So every aspect about their home, their life, you want to be a part of that because you want to help them protect that asset and be there, obviously, first of mind when they go to upgrade that asset or downgrade that asset. You want to be the person for that. So you're going to get as much information you can initially for setting the appointment: name, phone number, and email address, spouse's name, if there's a spouse, if there's a significant other that's going to have a say in buying the house. Could be a fiance, or could be just a boyfriend or girlfriend, could be their parents. You want to know who all is going to have a say, and you want them to be at that initial consultation. Bring them all in. And that way, and then you're going to set the appointment, date, and time. You're gonna set the appointment, preferably here in the office. You're going to, if you can bring them to the office, a professional setting, you have access to the computers, the printers, all that stuff. There's a coffee machine out there in case they want to get a drink. And it's a safe environment. Now, if you're meeting them here at 9, 10 o'clock at night, it might not be a safe environment because, there's not a lot of people here that time of night. But public places, I love coffee shops. Quiet coffee shops are great. Little mom and pop, get back to the community kind of stuff. Find a corner, maybe swing by and talk to the coffee shop ahead of time, saying you're bringing a client in. You can buy some coffees. What's the best time of day? If you're going to use an area in your zone, maybe it's a local coffee shop you like to go to. I don't recommend usually stuff like libraries and things like that because that's, talking is kind of frowned on. But usually a coffee shop or a restaurant outside of mealtime hours. And you can even meet at bars. Especially if they have like table sections, you can meet in a table section, and usually you can order a coffee drink or a soft drink or even an alcoholic beverage and meet them through. I'll never recommend alcoholic beverages unless you know the people, in case they're kind of, you don't want to go there and start drinking with them on day one. So public places for safety, that's probably the main thing. So it's very important, most important thing about your clients is you want to be juggling, a lot of clients, right? If you're working with one client, that's an easy person to maintain, but you want to get in the habit from day one of putting them in command. So there are command programs. I'm sure Peter probably got you guys either on a 66-day challenge or whatnot, but learn everything Command has to do, because Command's a phenomenal program, and it will, and you guys use, what'd you say it was? Follow up boss. Again, great program, but you want to know everything there is to know about those programs so that you can just maximize the value, because follow up boss and Command will tell you to reach out to your clients. They'll remind you. Like I'm juggling probably about 10 buyers right now, and they'll slip. You're out showing houses and doing things and working here, and you're like, holy smoke, I haven't talked to this client in 2 weeks. And then you reach out to them and they're like, oh, we thought you forgot about us. I'm like, well, I did. So if you got them in your CRM, it will remind you. And you can set them up on smart plans in both these, so that an active buyer you're going to want to reach out to a couple times a week. And it'll just tell, hey, have you called Pete today? And then you call Pete, make a little note in the system, and you click the checkbox, and it pushes it till the next time they want you to reach out to them. And if the client calls you in between these check-ins, just make notes. So you make notes of the conversation. What do we talk about today? We talk about what they really want to be in this school district. So you're going to put it in there. You're going to make the changes to their search. And so your CRM, whatever you use, is your database management. It's your memory, because you have to remember a lot. And I'm very good at remembering a lot of things, but you can't remember everything about every client. And that's where the part of your value proposition is they're only going to have to tell you one time what their goals, dreams, and desires are, and you're going to remember it, and you're going to help guide them towards that. And if they get off track, you'll bring it up again. Maybe their goals, dreams, and desires have changed, but maybe they just got a little off track. Go down a rabbit hole, looking at bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and better. I bought a camper once and went and looked at this camper. I just need something small, just me and my daughters, and looked at the camper, and we looked at these 14-foot, really cute, one single slide for bunks. And let's go over there, look at this bigger one, and look at the bigger one. I ended up buying a 32-foot triple slide with full-size fridge, master bedroom, and I mean, it was ridiculous. It was very nice. I mean, we didn't camp, we glamped. But I also paid 3 times more than I wanted to going in. Now, when you're buying a house, that's not going to generally be the case. People will have there's an amount that they can buy, and there's an amount that they want to buy. And generally those are not the same. So you have to get to both those answers. But okay, so once you set the appointment, time and date, you want to get them hit while the iron's hot. Don't like, oh, I can meet you. I don't really want to do it this week. Let's push them out 2 or 3 weeks. No, once they're interested in setting an appointment to meet you, start going through what their goals, dreams, desires are on a home, on buying a home, schedule for the very next possible appointment that you and this person can meet. All right, so some of these, all right. So these are in your manual. These are the 7 ways to close an appointment tactic. Okay, so I'm just going to touch on a few of them. So show the benefits. Is a conversation like this. Spending 30 minutes with me could save you hours of times and thousands of dollars in your home search. Would that be a benefit to you? Yes, great. Let's meet now and let's narrow your search to exactly what's most important to you. The take back close. This is about putting a tempting offer in front of the buyer and then create a subtle fear that they may not be able to get it. I've enjoyed talking with you. To be honest, I don't know whether I can be of help to you or not. However, I'd be honored if we can meet to find out. How about we meet tomorrow? So what I always recommend is there's 7 of these. Read through them. Some of them you're like, nah, that's not me. Right? So use the ones that work best for you. The negative, positive close is a way of backing into an appointment. Would you be offended if I asked if we could meet to go over all of this in a little more detail? I'm free tomorrow. What time works for you?
We don't have those written in here. We just have like the titles of them, as far as I can see.
Oh, really?
Unless they're further back. Yeah, so like we just have like number one, showing the benefits, and then it's like, we don't have descriptions of them.
Okay, well. Sweet, when we get, if you want, when we're done, I can
Yeah, that'd be
make a
good.
copy of those.
Yeah,
Another one is give them what they're looking for. People will call you, be like, hey, I saw this house on Zillow. Can you give me some information on it? Try to set an appointment with them, preferably in person, not over the phone, not over Zoom. Over the phone, you can, if that's how it's gotta be, great. If Zoom, virtual appointment, that's okay too. But try to set up face to face because you win them in the boardroom, so to speak. So you wanna get down and you wanna meet them personally and help them with the process. Because just because they like this ranch over on the west side, it may be that they want information on it because it's a friend of theirs and they're just stalking their friend. Want to know what their inside their house looks like. Or they have a house in the neighborhood and they want to know what a house in the neighborhood sell for. So I always say, absolutely, let me pull all that together. Can we meet at my office tonight? And we'll say, go through it all. We'll talk about this house and others, if you have others that you want to talk about, and we can do it real time and kind of get all your answers question, be quick and easy. What do you think? And a lot of times people are like, no, I just want the information. Give them the information. What's it gonna, it's not gonna give them the information because you're gonna provide them with a value and then follow up with them afterwards and be like, hey, what'd you think about the house? Would you like to see it? And then you can talk about your value proposition and the value of working with you over working or just showing up and letting the seller's agent work with them. So people will call you like, hey, I'm just curious about getting pre-approved. Well, let's sit down, right? Everything is about any questions to give them what they're looking for. Part of it is any question they have for you about the real estate market. How's the market? Love to sit down with you and go over that. It's a little more detailed than just the market's good right now. So if you want, let's go have a coffee. We can catch up. A lot of times it's somebody you might know already. It's a friend of a friend. Say, hey, why don't you invite Joe? Joe, if Joe referred you to me, invite Joe. We'll all go have a coffee and we'll sit down. We'll talk real estate. However it may be, but you want to try to give them a little bit of what they want, but try to segue that into let's meet to go over the information. Trial close, test the waters first. Something like that would be, can you see how receiving a list of all the homes on the market in your price range would help you in your home search? Yes, because people, they look on Zillow, they look on realtor.com. One of the biggest problems with looking on forward-facing media for a home is the algorithm capture, right? So you go on Zillow and you look for a house, and then everything that you do, all your social media accounts, you're going to start getting emails, you're going to get calls from agents because you hit an algorithm and you looked at a house on Zillow, realtor.com. They all do it, they all capture them. And they all try to funnel you. You can't even like ask for information on any one of these sites. And people go, well, they click the Zillow link and they're like, I want to get information on this. So they like, give me more information. Well, you're not getting the listing agent. You're getting some random agent that pays money to Zillow to give them leads. So if they work with you, they can look at all their neighbors' houses. They can look at properties anywhere in the United States and a lot of times around the world. They can see houses. Like I got clients that they just want to look at properties in Florida, look at beachfront homes. I'm like, okay, well, I set them up a program in my command, send them over a search page, and they can just have at it through the Keller Williams program. They want to look locally, you send them up into Cincinnati MLS and do it that way. You can forward them your app, and they can use your app to search anywhere in the world, and it will send you notifications on what they're looking at and what. So you can be like, if they're looking in, I had a client the other day, it's a friend, I've known him for years. He's not an A, B, C. He's a guy that I sold a house to a long time ago. So I guess he's considered an A, but I'm never moving. I'm gonna die in this house kind of guy. And I just got a notification he was on my app looking at some land over on the other side, Clemmer County, Brown County. And so I reached out to him and I'm like, hey, I said, years ago you were looking at buying some hunting land. I said, you want to revisit that? Oh man, I don't know how you knew, but yeah, I'm absolutely looking at buying some hunting land. He said, so I found a couple of places I'm really interested in. We set up an appointment, we met, and now we're going to go look at some land. And it's all because he used my KW app to look for land. And it sent me a notice saying that he was looking for land. So, and then just use that as a segue to him. Sometimes you can even call him up. If you know him, like him up, say, hey, I saw my app, you were looking at houses over in Claremont County. What's up? Oh, well, my kids, getting ready to buy a house and I was looking at some properties. I said, well, I'd love to work with them. I love hanging out with you. We're friends, whatever it may be, however the segue is. And then you segue into that of, I'd love to help your son or your daughter buy a house out in Claremont County. Why don't we set up a time where we can all sit down, figure out their needs, their goals, their desires, get them pre-approved, get started on the process. It doesn't matter whether they're looking now or looking in 6 to 9 months. Let's get them started on the process so they know what they're looking at and what they can get in their price point so they can be realistic about their search. And they're like, oh yeah, great. So then you can pick it up that way. So using your KW app, have it on your phone, be able to give it to people out anybody and everybody, give it to them. Even if people go, hey, so you just meet some random person, you can be like, hey, if you want to look for properties without being called by an agent constantly, here you go. And I'll probably just touch base with you every so often to see if the app's working well for you if you have any questions. And you put that out there. So the assumptive close, it kind of prevents them from saying no. It says, it sounds like we should meet. I'm available most times this week, so what works best for you? Right? You're not asking them for the appointment. You're telling them that it's very apparent from your conversation with them that we need to sit down and move this process along for them. So what's a good day and time that we can do this? And it's hard for the people to say, oh, I'm not ready. It's like, well, if you told me you were looking to buy in the next, whatever it may be, let's go ahead and get you started. Because even if it's a year from now, getting them set up on a campaign where they can look at properties and see the property values, they're going to come into this, even if they wait the full year. Most of the time, if you find something you want to buy, it's like when you save the money, when you get the things in place, it's usually sooner than you expected. I'm going to buy a car next year. I start talking about like instead of time I'll buy a car next year, you're going to buy a car in 6 to 9 months because it's in your mind and that's going to come up. And you want to be that person that's going to help them bridge that gap. And we're going a little further on this, but tie downs, there are phrases that ask for confirmations. Like, wouldn't that be great? Or can't you? Isn't it? Wouldn't you? Those are things where you're trying to get them to kind of give you the yes answer, right? Get them used to saying yes. So we'll save you hours on a home search. We meet in the office first. Saving time is important to you, right? Well, absolutely. Great. Let's meet. And then you set the appointment. So those are all kind of ideas on how to kind of tie it in. At the end of the day, just remember, ask for the appointment. If you don't ask to meet them, let's catch up over a coffee. We could talk about whatever, segue conversation, whether it's something you remember them from high school, from work, from this, from that, dogs, you name it. If you got a cat and you're talking about their cat, maybe they took their cat to the vet and they come up in conversation. So you're going to talk about, maybe the time you took your animal to the vet, but you're going to try to make a connection. Like when you walk through people's houses for the first time, you're looking. I got audited years ago, and the auditor, I went to the IRS, was sitting there for the audit, and he had a picture of his kid fishing. So I went straight into my camping story. Like me and my girl love to camp. We love to fish. I love the bonfire, a little fire in the morning with a cup of coffee where everybody wakes up. And so we started talking. We talked for like an hour. And he said, well, I guess we ought to get into your audit. And so we had become, we literally, I felt we had this amazing connections, an older guy who's telling me these wonderful stories about fishing with his grandson. And needless to say, I sailed through the audit, no problem. And I didn't do anything wrong, but sailed through the audit. We moved on to the next phase of them signing off on it. But you can do it with people with houses. I've gone through houses, see a dog bowl on the ground, ask them what kind of dog you have, because I have a couple of dogs myself. You see a cat, you see pictures of family members, maybe a vacationing Cabo if they're younger, whatever it may be. You look at these things, and that's going to be little connection points that you're going to make with these people while you're touring their home, whether it be for a listing or if you're just meeting somebody that you know and trust to go to their home. and you're meeting them and you're trying to build a rapport on buyers. So like, when you show me where you're living now, if it's somebody you know and they're renting, meet them at their apartment. If they want to meet at their apartment, you go there. Okay, so why is this apartment too small for you? Or what's wrong about the apartment? What would you love to see in a home of your own? And you can talk about the equity building and value composition and stuff about buying a home versus renting and all that. But it gives you some really good insight into somebody, and sometimes it can strengthen a relationship. And that's really what we're looking to do. So we talked about all these. So buyer objections. First thing about a buyer objections, okay. Buyer objections are what we call limiting beliefs. Objections are good. It means the buyer is still involved in the conversation. It signals that they're just a few more steps from deciding to work with you or deciding to make that purchase. So an objection, you need to practice your scripts or your, they're not called scripts anymore. Your conversations about objections, about whether like, oh, I'm not ready to meet. Okay. So, and then you're gonna ask questions to try to find out why they're not ready now. It might just be that this is a terrible week for them at work. Might be it's been a stressful day, and they're trying to wrap up the appointment to get. So you can do a follow-up call. You want to try to schedule that next appointment, whether it be in person or what. And then you ask the question. They say, oh well, my dog just died, or my daughter's getting married, and it's going to cost me an enormous amount of money, and I won't be ready to buy until after we sort through the wedding. So you're gonna ask questions, obviously empathize a little bit with their plight, whether it's something exciting, you're gonna kind of chime in, oh, that's really exciting. I'm so excited for you. Sorry that it's going to cost a lot of money, but that's, I've got daughters myself, so I understand how that's going to be, although I would love for them to date. So if they're watching, daughters date. But identify the real issues as to why that the objection came up. It might just be that today's a bad day. They're just not really feeling it to make an appointment. They don't have their calendar on them. That their life is hectic. Whatever it may be. Offer a solution to that, a workaround for whatever issue that they have, and then ask again for the appointment. It's very important to always re-ask for the appointment. Once you heard their objections, ask the questions, made a connection on their reason why they are willing to do an appointment with you right now, and then offer a solution, and then at the end, ask for the appointment again. Usually you don't get a second no. You'll get that appointment. Yeah, okay, we can meet, but I can't meet till next week. Great. What's the best day next week to meet? Let's get it on the calendar now. And then you set the appointment. And sometimes they'll call and cancel because they don't like to do it to your face. And then it's like, well, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely understand completely. Can we reset it for either the following week or preferably another day that week, and just try to keep them on the books, and eventually they'll meet you.
To what lengths should you go? Like, say they're busy. I mean, would you say, well, you have practice, you're going to your kids' practice after work. I can meet you there. We can discuss a little bit. I mean, is that too far? Is that going too far, or?
No, because sometimes people are just naturally just busy. Sometimes there's a little bit of hesitant to go to start that process. Maybe you ask them, maybe in their conversation, they're concerned about fees, about your fees. And the great thing about real estate fees is you only pay me if I find you the home of your dreams. So all the education, the knowledge, the setup, the pre stuff that to get you that search page and to help you with vetting houses, all of that, getting you pre-approved and whatnot, all that is free. If you end up buying a home, then that's when I get paid. And then we can go into the commission agreements and things like that. And a lot of times those are conversations you're going to have at this buyer consultation, this face-to-face sit down to get them started. You're going to have our agency's buyer consultation there, or buyer representation agreement, and you're going to fill it out. You're going to have to go through it. So you have to know it verbatim. And that's another thing. You need to know the paperwork verbatim. So when you sit down to them, you're not reading it. you're like, okay, this section here talks about this. This section here talks about this, and you're going through the sections and ask you, explain it, ask them if they have questions, go to the next one, explain it, ask them if they have questions, and when they're done, as you're filling it out, you're like, okay, any issues? No? All right, let's sign, let's move on. And you get them to sign it, and then that's set aside. So the objections, we talked about the objections. All right. So out of the objections, ones we talked about, right? We talked about showing them benefits of an appointment. That's like when we sit down, we're going to go through all of your hopes, dreams, desires, questions that you may have. I'm going to give you some information, and then that's going to spark some questions in you. And I want to get you, because my goal throughout the buying process is to make sure that when you're done and you've bought a house, you could do my job. I want to teach you every aspect of the buying process, every aspect of home ownership. And we're going to go through so much information that you're going to feel like you could do my job. So I'm going to answer all those questions. You might not have any questions right this minute, but if we sit down and we start going through the process, questions are going to come up. And it's always better to do that face to face so we can work through those, because there are some forms that we got to talk about, things like that. So if we can do like, let's lock in about 30 minutes. And if they go, if they say, oh, well, yeah, we can do 30 minutes. I'm like, and if we need to go longer, I'm going to block out an hour, hour and a half if we need to go longer, but give me 30 minutes and we'll go through the whole process, and you'll know where you stand on how to get started buying a home. And so showing them the benefits of meeting with you and going and learning all this information up front, so that they're not like you want to give them that in-depth look at the buying process so that they're knowledgeable going in. So that's a show the benefits. Take back clothes. I don't really like that one. Some people do, like, I don't know if I can work with you or not. I always tell people when I'm doing reviewing the buyer service agreement, I will use a portion of that take back scenario when I'm going through that paperwork. So this is an agreement that we're going to work together. And if we end up not wanting to work together, all I ask is that if I don't like something that you're doing, I'm going to bring it up and we're going to talk about it. We're trying to get past it. If there's something I'm not doing for you, something you want me to do, I want you to bring that up. I want you to tell me. Open communication. If there's something you don't know, something you don't like, something I'm not doing to your satisfaction, you bring it up, I'll fix it. If I can't fix it, then we can cancel this contract. That's just how I look at it. But I always put that disqualifier in there that we're like, this is not a marriage, we're dating. So we're going to work through small problems. If it's a major problem, we'll break up. But we want the agreement, the buyer service agreement, the buyer representation agreement is a legal agreement that says, if I show you a property and you buy a house, I'm gonna get paid. And then you can go into the whole, how the commission structures are worked and what the ideas are around that. But, so on these different close the appointment tactics, is there anyone that stood out that you like the best? Or did I go through them too quick? Like, did you like the negative, positive? Like, would you be offended, or do you like to give them what they want? Which is, hey, yeah, I can get you information on that house at 123 Main Street. Why don't we set an appointment? We'll go over tonight.
I really like that one.
So
It's the most natural.
yeah, because a lot of times what you do is people will like, oh, well, can you just email it to me? Well, I can, but there's a lot of information and I want to make sure you understand it all. Because there's a lot to go through, both on the MLS sheet that I send you and any supporting documents like the RPD or the property disclosures and things like that. If it's in an HOA, you can talk about HOA rules, guidelines, and all that. And so it's always better that we sit down and we go through this property. We can, in 15 minutes, we can review this property pretty quickly, and I can say hi and we can get to know each other a little bit. And you try for that. If they can't do that, they just want the information on the house, I always send it to them. Tie downs, getting them comfortable with saying yes, ask them questions. Would it be easier if we did this? And you make it an obvious, oh, yeah, would it be easier if I just kind of threw you to the wolves and you found the house, but look at it and call me and I'll write contract? No, that's not a yes answer. But would it be easier if, I don't know, would it be easier if we save some time by getting a very detailed analysis of what your desire is on a home? So we're not looking at home, wasting your time by looking at hundreds of homes. That's a very easy Q&A. And because people are like, well, yeah, I don't want to look at 1,000 houses, spend the next 6 months looking at properties. So let's spend 30 minutes getting to know your desires in a home now. And we can, that way it'll save us countless hours and heartache and wasted time. Just looking at houses that aren't your price point, that aren't in your home desire, had that right amount of bedrooms, had that right amount of amenities. So we want to sit down and we want to narrow your search, because there are a lot of properties. If you were to go through the 5 counties roughly that Hamilton County, Greater Cincinnati MLS covers. There's even people that are like in Dayton listing houses in the Dayton MLS in Greater Cincinnati market, same in Northern Kentucky. There, you know, you can pull up Greater Cincinnati, you'll see a house that's popping up in, or you might in Northern Kentucky. It's so finding out where they want to be, narrowing that search pattern so you kind of can start them out instead of sending them 500 homes that frustrates them and looking at junk over junk over junk. If they're looking at renovation properties, you don't want to send them turnkey. So we're looking at turnkey properties, a house that's falling in on itself, that's got studs and hard, and no electric in the house. You don't want to send them those houses. So you want to try to work out those kinks beforehand. So I like the, we can give you copies of these, but it's basically just, whichever one how you want to ask for the appointment and how you segue into that is, this could be as simple as, do you have any more questions for me? No, I think you've answered just about everything we got right now. Like, great. Why don't we sit down and start your process so we can get you start looking at homes, get your lender pre-qualification. We sit down, we talk about different lenders. I can give you all the information on the lenders that I refer out, that my preferred lenders, to give you the best possible program for buying a home. And then there's segues out of that, whether it's, they've got, debt to income ratios, or they got credit score problems, and you can say, you want to have a credit score management program that you can help them build their credit. And if they come back to the lender says they can't buy because they got too much credit card debt, and then maybe you refer them to a credit rebuilding platform to get their credit score up, help pay those credit cards off. And then you're keeping in touch with them throughout this entire process. They go from being an A buyer to a B buyer, somebody that's working through to get to be an A again. So preparing for the buyer consultation, that's where we're at next. Where are we at here? How are we doing? We're not doing good. Okay, so getting to the buyer consultation preparation checklist. You want to confirm the date, location, make sure that everybody who's going to be participating in the buying a house, not just people going on the loan, but anyone that's going to have a say as to what house this person buys, that you want to try to get them there. Complete your buyer's guide, is for your presentation. We'll get to that. Prepare the meeting space, prepare the lead sheet. That's lead sheet, just your Q&A questions on what you're going to ask them to try to prepare their search. And the meeting space is just making sure you got a space that's quiet and it's semi-private, so you can, but professional and not dangerous, like not the living room of their house if you don't know them. Top 10 service areas or buyer propositions is, we've talked about, there's a needs analysis. That's finding out literally why they're wanting to buy. Pre-qualification or pre-approval, that's getting them in touch with a lender to make sure that they can in fact buy a house and what their price point is. People might be renting at $1,200 a month, and they might be approved for $2,500 a month. They might be paying $2,000 a month in rent and only want to buy a house where their mortgage payment is $1,700 a month. So getting them pre-approved says what they're able to buy, what they're able to pay on a monthly payment, but what they actually want to is gonna take a few more questions from you. Which neighborhoods they want to like, do they need school districts, close to work, close to family? Do they want to be more rural? How big a lot they want? That's all gonna kind of dictate where you send them neighborhood wise. Setting up their home search, beds, baths, amenities. And most of the time on a home search, you're looking for minimums. You're not looking for like, well, I gotta have I really want a 4-bedroom, but what would you be willing to take? Well, at least a 3. So we're at least a 3. So that's our search, 3 and above. So we want to make sure we're doing that. So you do the home search, which will talk about making an offer on the property. That's going to be in your buyer's guide, or at least your buyer proposition when you sit down to meet with these folks. You're going to talk about negotiations, vendor coordination, about fees that they're going to have throughout the buyer, and you're going to want to have some of these vendors that you can refer to them moving forward. We're going to talk about pre-close preparation, closing, and post-closing. So these are all the things in your buyer proposition that should be in your buyer's guide that you're going to kind of review. And at Peter's team, they have already ready-made stuff. That's amazing. But the good news is you through KW, we have templates, and you can go in and you can start building it out, make it your own. Out of all the value propositions that they have to offer, you're going to be able to pick and choose what needs to stay in there that you can offer. Sometimes the value proposition might not be something you want to do or something you can do. So you're gonna put in what you need, take out what you don't need. And things like this, like a welcome letter. I don't want to get too much into it, but we got a welcome letter, timeline of the buying process, the home search process, your app. Definitely need at least a half page in there talking about with a QR code they can scan to jump straight to your app, set that process up. Introduction, value proposition, pledge of quality, your bio, all that stuff's in there, like who you are, what benefit would they have by working with you. It's all in there. Different reasons to buy a home, local market analysis, price ranges and trends. If you know where they're looking, you can do this. If not, this is something maybe that you do want to follow up, because if they're like, we don't really know where we want to live. So we'll go over that in our meeting. As part of why I want to sit down with you is so I can ask you questions and we can get to the bottom of where you want to live, because you don't want to look from everywhere from Harrison all the way to Brown County. And then, you're up in Dayton, stomping around, you want to look at northern Kentucky. We want to try to narrow that down a little bit so you're not spending thousands of dollars in gas and they're driving all over the place, just to realize that if you ask them a few questions, you can get to the bottom of the market they want to be in. We can go through the financial worksheet. Usually, to save time, I usually just refer that. If you've got good lenders, your lenders can do all that for you. Credit check request, that's again going to be a lender thing, but we're going to talk about that. Interest rate chart. You're going to go a little bit into like what's the current interest rate, what the value is, where we're at, where it could go, and if it does go, how you're going to help them through your value proposition on maybe looking at a refinance when the time comes. Talk about the items required for a loan application. That can be in there. It can all be a sheet. You can get those from any lender, or you can just print them out, put them in there yourself. Keller Mortgage and Keller Covered. Those are obviously our Keller Mortgage program, Keller Mortgage program. There is a whole system on that. I recommend that you watch the videos, learn about Keller Mortgage program, the Keller Code program, and then you can implement those into your buyer consultation if you want. It's completely up to you. What kind of mistakes to avoid in a buyer questionnaire? So there's like the buyer questionnaire is a lot of times in your buyer's guide is going to be something that you're going to pull out and you're going to have them fill it out. While we're sitting there, we're going to ask questions, they're going to fill it out, and you're going to take that with you to set up your search. We're talking about command. They have a buyer guide in command. So you can literally just log into command, and their templates are in there and they're fully customizable. We have a Canva app with a link to that, and there are a lot of buyer's guides in Canva app. I always tell people is don't try to create a bestseller masterpiece book up front, going on the Oprah to talk about your book deal. Create a basic guide, something that will get you from the start to the finish of the meeting with buyers and start to the finish in the buying process. That's really all you need. A little something about you, write down all the stuff that you love about yourself, your value proposition, everything else, slap that into an AI generated model, have them create something that's friendly, readable. You can put the age level that you want it to be at. Like you can say you want it at a 12th grade education or a first year college education. You don't want it to be too detailed, too you want to use a nice readable format for your bio. One page, don't get crazy with it. A little bit about you, a little personal information about you, and the rest about your philosophy and your business, what you can provide. And like I said, you can go into command and create all this. I would recommend that when, like I mean, I know you've got to go,
Yeah, so
but when you get into command, you can definitely kind of walk through that process and play around with it. They're very easy to do. Thanks. See you. All right. So, and again, it goes to the table of contents. I don't want to go into the guide itself too much because it's just a matter of getting in command, clicking through it, and it'll literally give you these pre-made templates. You read them, you can tweak them, you can change the colors, change the layout, make it your own. Add in some photos, put your own photos in there. You can put like, I think I've got pictures of me in here, just as page separators somewhere in
Okay,
there.
you created that for yourself.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
mine. I didn't punch holes in it right, but we can look at that afterwards. But so when you're creating your buyer's guide, it's literally all there. You could take this exact same buyer guide, go through it, take out anything that you don't do, things that aren't about you. Like it's when you're going through the template, you can remove, you don't have to put any extra pictures, any extra wording, just anything that you're not willing to do or that you cannot do, take out. And then the rest of it, just print it out and use it for starters as a base program. And then as you're doing presentations, you can be like, what would really be great here, because the client brings it up, talks about it, is want to add this. You're gonna make a note. You're gonna make notes throughout this buyer representation sit down. You're gonna make notes of everything, and you're gonna make a note. Upgrade this in my buyer presentation. This is a document that is constantly changing. It'll change as real estate in general changes, and it'll change as your business changes. You might rebrand yourself and change your colors, and you might have to go in there and change all the colors to a prettier color. There's like one of our agents in the office is pink is her brand color, so a lot of pink. So you might start out like I think a lot of this is it's Keller Williams red, right? Keller Williams red, grays, blacks, with white. Maybe you don't like those colors. You want to soften it up, do some earth tones, or whatever you want to do. You can change all that out. So there's stuff in here about loans. You can add in your preferred lenders in here. What I generally do is instead of adding them in, I might create a separate sheet, and those are like handouts, slide-ins. Some things that you'll want to go with, like maybe like with a buyer, you want to review what a property disclosure looks like and how to read it. So you're gonna in your buyer sit down agreement, your buyer guide, you're gonna slide in a blank copy, and you're gonna pull that out and review it because sometimes those change. But your buyer representation agreement, you don't put that in the guide. You want to have it separate, so when you fill it out, bring 2 copies because you're going to leave them a copy and you're going to take a copy. But once you get through your test and you're here like ramping up to get started, command can walk you through building a buyer's guide. The office will show you how to get on Canva through Keller Williams, and you'll be able to log into Canva through our Keller Williams command program, and a lot of that, those buyer guides are already there. A lot of, there's flyers, there's open house flyers, there's all tons of information that you can go in and just plug in your own pictures, redo the wording, and then print them out. So
That can take a lot of time.
yeah, but what I always tell people is you work on your business during the day, and when you're winding down at night and you got the TV on and whatnot, you're going to open up your laptop or set your computer and you're gonna play around with it,
Mhm.
you know, because the buyer guides in command are a basic guide. And then you're going to put your flair on it. You're gonna, and then you're gonna use it as a guide to walk you through that appointment. It's more like a cheat sheet or crib notes for a test. You're like, okay, well, we just went through, you know, getting pre-approved, pre-qualified, what the difference is and how to go about that process and why it's important. And the next step is this. And you're like, oh, okay, so the next step we're gonna do, and you're gonna have something, they're gonna flip along, keep along with you. So this is not gonna be your cheat sheet. It's gonna be something to say, okay, now we're gonna talk about setting up your home search. And it's gonna have to talk a little bit about home search. And they're gonna have it open, but you're gonna use it as a place where like, okay, so then you're gonna start to have that conversation about what their hopes, dreams, and desires are in their home that they're gonna buy. And that's when you're gonna bring out your sheet, you start filling that out. And once you get through that process, you go to the next page, and then it talks about, you know, maybe the costs involved in purchasing a home. So you're just gonna go through, and it doesn't have to be, it should be branded to you. You don't want it to look like you just printed it off of our website. So you're gonna be able to upload some photos. And, you know, and then part of the stuff that we'll teach you when you get here is about how to take green screen photos so you can do overlays. And you don't have to do like the photo of you with a white background. You can do it from a green screen and you can just drop it right on the page so that it looks more professionally done. That's all stuff that can be easily shown.
That's fun.
Very easy stuff. Okay, so consult or conducting the buyer consultation. So you're gonna want to have, obviously, this buyer's guide. So, and it's got a whole bunch of stuff in there that just they can read through. You know, I always put some testimonials in there so that from previous clients, if you don't have those, you can, you know, you can do Keller Williams testimonials, stuff like that, pretty picture me point. So you want to make it your own, and you can do that by just adding a few things. Put your name, your business name up top. Maybe if you go with a tagline, you can put that in there, and you're gonna have your bio page and other stuff in there. So it'll be your consultation. And like I said, you know, these, you can do it in these binders. You can go buy the cheap folders with the clear fronts, you know, just put the 3-hole punch in there and pinch them down. Doesn't have to be professionally bound. It's, you know, you could buy the peel and stick slide on binders that just kind of hold it somewhat in place, where you can still pull them out, but kind of holds it in place. So I'm a big advocate of just having something, even if they don't read it, like with a seller, you're looking at like a pre-listing package you'll send out. With a buyer, maybe you if it's somebody you know, you can like drop this off the night before, say, peruse this. This will help you with maybe generating some questions while we're talking tomorrow, speed up our process. If you don't get to it, we'll go through it. But if you want to look at this ahead of time, you drop it off a day beforehand. And because nobody's doing that. Literally nobody in this industry does, but very few people will drop off a packet ahead of time. And maybe that's your, you know, shows that your value proposition is you'll keep them educated every step of the way. But okay, so you want to have, you know, have a nice color copy. They print here color copies. Unfortunately, I printed that at home and I was in a hurry, wasn't paying attention. My ink was running out. So you can print it here. They do charge for color copies here, but you know, even if you want to save money early on, print a nice one that you can let them look at while you're going through the process, and take it with you when you leave and use it on the next one.
Okay.
And things that, we went through a period where masks and hand sanitizers and things like that were all the rage. I think we've gotten out of that now. But if in your conversation with your client, I would always say have some hand gel, little tiny bottle, have a couple masks sealed up. So in the event that you get there and they're like sick or worried about, so worried about that close proximity with somebody and whatnot and catching something, that you could just like, oh, no, not a problem at all. And you slap that stuff on, do a little hand sanitizer, offer the squirt them some, and then you have your meeting. So you're catering to their fears, whether they're strong or not. And then
Points.
all right. So we talked about so this is like affirmations. Do you practice affirmations now?
Kind of, I should really be more diligent about it. Sometimes it just happens if I'm listening to something on the radio that's encouraging to me. I'm like, that's right.
Okay, so like the affirmations is like there's a lot of fear. We all have our fears, our doubts, our self-doubts. Affirmations help you stay focused, help you stay positive, help you, have that energy to maybe power through something. Affirmations are really good if you have like performance anxiety and you're like, my daughter's, she had an oral test today. She hates paper test, not a problem. Write it all out. Oral test, sitting across the table from the professor and having them ask you a question and say, tell me about this. She's just super anxious about that. I was like, she does great. She literally goes so much in detail that the press like, yeah, I was going to cut you off. You just kept going and going and going. And I'm like, let's see how much she knows. And then finally I had to cut you off because, we were going way outside of our time limit. So I got her to where she practices affirmations, like, telling yourself that you're good at what you do, telling yourself what your value proposition is a great affirmation. What you bring to the buyers and sellers, your friends, family, your people that want to use you for one of the largest, most incredible financial purchases of their life. What makes you the person they should work with? And there are absolute wonderful reasons why they should work with you. And reinforcing those in your mind by saying them out loud in the mirror sounds silly. I'm a big tough guy, but I do affirmations every day. Affirmations help you get past all those limiting beliefs of there's still so much I need to learn, and I learn every day and I try to grow every day, but being able to be that person that your client needs is very important, and getting past those limiting beliefs that hold us all back is affirmations are the thing to go. So not gonna make you read the affirmation, but set up there's affirmation apps. You can write down some you really like, or you can say, every morning I'm going to get up, I'm going to stand in the bathroom mirror while I'm getting ready. I'm going to say 5 things I'm thankful for, 5 things that are amazing about me, and 5 things that I'm bringing to the table value for my clients. And just, whether it's maybe do 1 thing, and then you do 2 things, then you do 3, but affirmations every day, because you are juggling the most anxiety driven, fearful financial decisions in people's lives. And you're going to juggle lots of them. And so if your buyers are freaking out, they're going to rely on you to be the calm in the storm. And you got to do that for all your buyers, all your sellers. And you gotta keep your head in the right place. And affirmations are really good about that. So definitely add that as a part of your day. You're gonna do your conversation reviews, scripts.
Okay.
You're gonna review those every day.
Okay.
And so that way you learn the language of real estate and affirmations to keep you in a positive mindset and you don't go down that rabbit hole.
That will definitely help me do that.
Yes, so a little bit, okay, so role playing with role plays are a great thing to do with other people, like when you join the office and you're learning how to become a real estate agent, finding somebody that can be an accountability partner, whether it's a child, a spouse, a friend, do wine Wednesdays and jump on a Zoom call, and because Zoom call, you can free Zoom call for 45 minutes. Jump on a Zoom call and have them ask you questions in real estate, and you
Okay.
respond to them while you guys are on camera drinking wine together, whatever it may be. But like having that open, helpful, knowledgeable personality comes from practice. Like you could be a person that works great on the fly, but in the book, it talks about there's a role play conversation with a participant. It says, thank you for letting me help you. My goal is to give you a 10+ customer experience. To do that, I'd like to get a clear idea of what you're looking for in your new home. So with your permission, I'd like to spend the next 20 to 30 minutes exploring what the right home for you would be like. We'll call this your 10+ home. So with your permission, I'd like to write notes as we go along, and I remember everything that's so I can remember everything that's important to you. It may seem like a lot, and I'd rather ask you 500 questions now and show you that the right 5 homes than to ask you 5 questions and waste your time showing you the wrong 500 homes. Does that work for you? They're going to say yes, because they want you to go through this now so they can, not look at a bunch of homes that just really don't fit their needs, waste their time, knock the wind out of their sails, ruin their excitement about buying a home because they're looking at home after home after home that just isn't right for them. So that's kind of where that goes. So reading that conversation, that statement over and over again, getting to where you can read it and look up, like you're going to read that to your friend on Zoom or your husband in the living room. I need 15 minutes of your time, and then we can go do whatever you want. You're going to read it, and they're going to be like, you're going to be looking them in the face. You're going to be reading it, looking at them, and eventually you'll get to where you can get it across with maybe only looking at it once. And then so what you'll find is reading it verbatim over and over and over again helps place that whole concept of what you're trying to get across to the buyer or to the client. It gets the concept across, and then you're going to put your own life into it. So what I'm saying is, don't try to say, oh, I would never say, does that work for you? Say it. You're going to read it and read it and read it. And then when it comes to doing it in real life, you're not going to be reading it. You're going to be like, hey, okay. And you're like, I got to go over this, this, and this. It was like, and then maybe instead of saying, does that work for you? It's like, all right, ready to get started? And I'd be like, yes, I'm excited.
I love that.
So you read it verbatim and allow your lifestyle, your personality it'll come out your mouth in you. Because people go, oh, I wouldn't say that because they want to rewrite it. Don't no. Read it verbatim, learn it verbatim. When you sit down with somebody,
Okay.
you'll get all the key points that you need to get across, but it'll be in your voice.
That is very, very helpful. I like that. Well, now is that available to have in my hands? Like that specifically? Is that a Keller Williams
That is
trademarked conversation?
no. So I call it a script book. It's actually called Conversations because it's like objection handlers, all that's in there. So if somebody says, well, the market's, the interest rates are high right now, it's not a good time to buy. So what's your answer to that? If you don't know, there's a whole set of conversations about why the best time to buy might, like, okay, if I was to tell you, and you wanted to buy cryptocurrency, right? And best time to buy cryptocurrency would have been 20 years ago and dump every nickel you got into it. But the next best time might be today. So same with buying a house. Like you buy a house today, the average house for a day is a little just under like $300,000 for the average home. When I bought my first house, a 3-bedroom, 1.5, 2-bath home, 1,500 square feet with a driveway and a 2-car garage, a nice yard, a nice neighborhood, was $80,000. So when was the best time to buy a house? For me, it was 30 years ago. Now is the best time to buy a house. If you're buying a house now, investing in real estate now, Over the long term, we go talk about growth, we talk about how, what property values have gone over the last 4 years. We don't have crystal balls, but best time to buy a house now. Why? Is because of this. And those conversations are done professionally. They're done and reduced into a very clean format. So you can get the answers across and the people go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So you're gonna read those over and over and over again.
And these are in command?
They're all over the place.
Okay,
And
okay.
if you get with me later, I've got a book. I've got a script book I can give you.
Okay.
That I took a whole ton of different, I want to say, franchises, methodologies, people that build these scripts. And I took all the best of all of them, and I created one giant Bible of scripts.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's just, but there are Keller Williams scripts. There are, every major real estate training program out there has these conversations that you can review, and a lot of them are really good. And if you read one, you go, absolutely not, don't agree with that. That's crazy. That's stupid. It's like if the conversation says something like, hey, you need to buy a house now. Why? Because if you don't, I'm gonna punch you in the face. That's bad. That's a bad conversation. So that's a little extreme. But if you read one, you're like, nah, no, they would never use that. There's tons more where that comes, and it's about learning the language of real estate, learning objection handlers, and how to get people, because people, it's a fearful process, and you want to help them calm down, get centered, know the value of what they're trying to do, buying, selling, or investing in real estate, and you're gonna help them with that process and take a lot of those fears away. That's kind of what we do. So like this AI generated, real estate, AI taking over real estate agents, it's not true, because they can't do what we can do, which is we help people with the greatest purchase that they could ever do. And it's a relationship, it's a trust, it's a process building that requires personality, it requires interaction with a real person. So buyer needs analysis. So we talked about that. The needs analysis. So there's a set of questions. This is all in command, right? These are wish list questions. In the needs analysis, you can, you want to be able to read those, and because they're gonna ask your buyer questions, and some of them are going to be a little. And I don't know if we've even got those in the participant guide. So was that 1434? There it is, right there. Not on the page it's supposed to be, but like, so some of the questions are, what type of home are you looking for? Right? What kind of type of homes are there? Single families, multifamilies, condos, townhouses? Do they want a condo? Do they like the townhouse style home? Single family, what it doesn't show in here is multifamilies. So one of the whole processes that I like to do with young buyers is a house hacking program. So single families and 2s and 3s and 4 families are great for a young person that has enough. Maybe it's him and his girlfriend, maybe it's a couple of buddies, want to buy a house together. Like if you make 50 and he makes 50 and he makes 50, and none of you can afford to buy a house because you only make 50 and cost of living is such. But if you went together and bought a 4-family and you each lived in one unit and rented the 4th unit out, and you allowed it to grow equity, you're paying the rent payment that you would be paying to a landlord, you're paying it to yourselves. You like these other guys, you can live in the same building together, and you can bring a 4th in, and then you can put it all on the mortgage. And then after a few years, you can say, okay, let's do another one. So live in it 2 years, do another one. You still haven't made enough money to buy a $400,000 house, your dream home. So then you go buy another 4-family, and you guys move into that, and you rent this 4-family out. And you got equity income coming in on an investment property, and you're living in another one. So you do 2 years in that one, and then you go buy another one, you do another one, and then all of a sudden one of them is getting married. And so he's going to buy a house with his family. So he's got equity, you're splitting equity growth in these properties. And then you got to find a 4th to jump in with you on here. Or maybe he just wants to throw the cash at it and rent his unit, and then he stays in the program. So you can house hack your way into real estate and real estate profit real estate growth because you're paying the mortgage down, the property's growing in value, you're learning how to be a landlord and making money in the process. And then maybe in, 20 years, 25 years, when you go to retire from your business, you have a umpteen number of investment properties bringing in income. Because that house you bought 30 years ago, that for $85,000 is now selling every day for 350,
Mhm.
375. And so you have, a ton of equity in it. Maybe you've paid the house off and now you're renting it for $2,500 a month. And you got $2,500 a month of guaranteed income coming in because you've already built your nest egg, you built your maintenance, what if the roof needs replaced? You've got that money set aside, and if the furnace goes out, so you've got your maintenance items, you got your mortgage payment items set up, and you're just so building. So one of the buyer needs now is to be like, if they're a young family with kids, maybe they want to buy a house that they maybe they want turnkey, maybe they want a house that needs renovations. So all of these are questions that are going to lead you to setting up their search, and they may not know. You get a young couple that don't have kids, don't plan on having kids anytime soon. They may not know that house hacking can help them build wealth. And so you want to have that conversation with them. And that's all part of that buyer needs analysis. So many other things, like what size lot are you looking for? Because, you've got homes that in some neighborhoods that you're looking at 0.1 to 0.25 acres. It's a backyard, maybe a little street lawn. If they want if they want to be in a traditional neighborhood shoved in next to their neighbor and they want to be on a half acre or larger. So you don't want to look at anything less than a half acre. Yeah, we really want an acre plus, but half acre is the minimum we'll look at. The house is perfect. Half acre would be enough land for us for our first home. Great. So we're locked in at a half acre. So then when you do a half acre on your search, wipes out all those properties that are quarter acre, 0.1, that are slivers of land. Because and you got to have those buyer needs. And it's like, so like, how many beds you want? 3. You got follow-up questions are very important. Why 3? Well, because one for us, one for him in office, and a spare. Okay, all right, that's good. So if a 2-bedroom that was perfect came up, so one for an office, one for you guys, no spare bedroom. No, we want a spare bedroom. Okay, 3. We're locked in at 3. No, we could do a 2. We could do a 2 if the house was perfect. Maybe the house had a basement and we could finish it, or the house had a finished basement. So would a 2-bedroom with a finished basement be okay? Yeah. Or 2-bedroom with an office. So you got that 2 bedrooms and an office, or a den or a family room, something that adds that extra space. You got living room and a family room. So you have to ask those questions, and then you want to go with the lowest common denominator, their bare minimums. Because when you run that search, if you run the search, like if they're going to say, I want to be in Hamilton County, or I want to be in this school district, that's great. School districts are great. 30 minutes from work is great. No more than 30-minute drive to work. So then you're going to what? You're going to go to rush hour. You're going to go on your maps, and you're going to trace a diagram around a map on Google that's got drive times during the rush hours. So you're going to put them at like 35 minutes out. And then you're going to go to your search, you're going to draw on their search. You might be drawing like, okay, because they can jump on 32 and go much faster. We can go all the way out to here for 30 minutes. But if they're over here in this area, it's back roads, single lanes, and it's going to take them longer to get that far out. So it's not a circle. It's like a paintball splatter. It's going to be this far here and there and here and here, based on major routes, and Google will help you with that. So once you get that done, you got that mapped out, and you go and draw it in your MLS, and you got them a search going.
You can do that.
Yep. Yeah. So stuff like porches, decks, do they want a porch, front porch? They got to have a front porch, or if they don't have a front porch, they have a deck. We'd love to have one, but we don't have to have one. I say, because a deck, you can build a deck, for every dollar in materials is $1 in labor. So, $1,000 deck costs you a couple $1,000. So if they like, we'd really love to have one, but it's something we can build later. So then you leave decks off their search. You want a deck. And you don't put you got to have a porch, because that's going to narrow your search. And you want to get them And you want to get them 50, 60 houses, in my opinion, 50, 60 houses are great to look at. And then if you can't, like if you run a search and it's 200 houses, you want to start narrowing that search down to get them a reasonable amount. You can always expand it, let those other properties in. But if you kill them with too many properties at the beginning, they'll lose their energy and they won't want to look.
Now, how are they getting those? Are you?
You're gonna set it up. Yeah, that's a whole nother class.
Okay.
Setting up the MLS, that's a whole MLS class, setting it up through command or, because you want to set them up through command. There's a whole way to do that. You're gonna set them your app, and they're gonna be able to sign up through your app. There's so many ways of getting them properties. You want to get them onto your systems and get them away from the Zillows and the Realtor.coms and I looked on Sipsy Klein. Because all the aftermarket sites that you don't set up for them, all those aftermarket sites are they're gonna get all those inundated so it's like if you clicked on a link for a hot tub on Facebook and you were like watching the videos and looking at the different hot tubs they have, next thing you know, you've got 25 hot tub ads popping up on your feed, right?
Yep.
Same with if they look for properties on their own through forward-facing sites, not set up by you, is because what's going to happen is they're going to look at your sites and you're going to get the notifications, but you're not going to call them 25 times a day. Because if they look at 25 houses on Realtor.com, that's 25 different agents will call them. And you don't want to deal with that. So that's why you want to get them on your system. All right, so we looked a little bit about now let's talk about love letters real quick. On love letters, don't do them. There was a period of time that people started doing love letters, photos of the family with their dogs and their kids, and we love your home, and we can't wait to raise ours here. It opens up. So I'm not against love letters, but if there's a bias, if you're representing a buyer and there's a bias with a seller, maybe known or unknown, because there's a lot of people, we all got a little bit of bias here. We all gravitate to things that we like, we know, things that like I like this restaurant down here. I've never been to that one. So if I'm really hungry and I want to make sure I get a good meal, only when I'm feeling a little dangerous, might try someplace new. But I'm going to go to what you know. So what we don't want to do is send over a picture of a family with dogs and the people are in love with their hardwood floors and don't want dogs scratching up their beautiful hardwood floors, or they don't have kids and this is a family home and you raise your kids there and you're biased towards wanting to have another family raise their kids in there. So there's plenty of bias, known and unknown. We just don't do them. We let the contract speak by the terms of the contract, and you can write beneficial terms that'll make the sellers love your contract better than others. And that's up to another class. Okay. So no love letters. The board says no love letters. If you get a love letter from a buyer and you've got a listing, our recommendation is you don't present the love letter. It creates bias, creates liability, and we want our sellers to go based on the contract. What best terms in the contract, so it will no longer be their home, they're giving it to somebody else. Doesn't matter who's buying it, can they afford it? Are they gonna give you the highest and best terms in a contract offered? That's what we really want to have. So that's a conversation, with your buyer. We don't do love letters just because we don't want you to be swayed to go towards this person, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to sway you to pick my offer over this offer. This offer might be $10,000 more than my offer, but I've got my kids and I'm going to make it our family home. And all we really want to, no, we go with the best offer that's going to get you the most money, best terms, and get you out. I know I'm running late, but we're talking. So
I didn't say anything. I'm just taking Grace around. So.
hi, Grace.
Hi, Grace.
Hi.
And then he's teaching Ignite.
All right. Yes, and we are 30 minutes over, which drives me crazy. Okay, so the next is the buyer consultation, right? What I can tell you on the buyer consultation is if you have done your introduction, you've gone through your buyer representation packet, right? You talked about you've got their house set up, you've got all their stuff, you've asked them questions, you've made some personal connections. Because again, if I can't stress it enough, we are in a relationship business. And we provide a professional service, but without the relationship, it's just, and half of it's not there. So when you get done with a client, like when you bought them a house or sold their house, you're not done because you got all this post-closing stuff that you can help them with, maintenance and other things and advice. But you wanna almost, I mean, like I end up friends with most of the people I represent. You know, there's a couple, I guess, that I've bought and sold houses with that we didn't make a connection, but 99% of the people that I work with, I end up really liking. And you want to follow up with them. There's a few that literally I've gone to their baby showers, I've gone to their wedding. I helped a client buy a house in Florida, and I would fly, they'd call me, how come you haven't come to see us? I'm like, I've just been busy. Well, we want you down this weekend. Get a flight. And I buy a flight. We go down there and we go to dinner, and we hang out, and I live in their house. And you know, it's so you're building relationships. This is a relationship business. If you don't treat it as that and you do it any other way, you won't do well.
That's great. That means a lot to me because in my previous job, I found that having those relationships, it just helps your workflow better.
Yeah.
People communicate better, they feel open. But then if you have that faction with people that are like, just come put your head down, do your work and don't talk, just do what you know how to do. I mean, then you just get problems, things that are hard to work through, works better when you have.
Well, and then when like, so if you do a dry professional presentation, you do everything right, find them a great house, is there, because in the purchase and sale transaction of any real estate property, there is the possibility of proverbial dung to hit the fan. Things go wrong. Your job is to try to look for those things 3 or 4 moves ahead. So when you see them coming, you can clean them up before they ever get here. You know, stuff like if you think there might be a title problem, so you're going to get title on that right off the bat. If there's a down payment, like you want to find out how much money your clients have. So when you do the pre-approval and they say you're pre-approved for a 3.5% FHA loan, do they have 3.5% to put down plus the cost and the lender fees and the title fees and all, and the appraisal fee and the inspection fee and all that moving fees and everything that it's expensive to buy properties. And if they don't have a lot of that money or they don't want to spend all their money on that, then we're going to look at ways to add that for some seller contributions, family gifts, other way, different types of grants and loan products that can help out with that. Zero down loans. So we're going to, more you get to know your clients, the more you can represent them. You know, if you don't know that whether your client's a veteran or not, you're doing a great disservice to the VA community, especially your client who could get a great VA loan and save all kinds of money. So you want to know all this stuff about your clients, get to know them, ask them a lot of questions. And as you get to know the different loans out there, you're going to ask them questions that might lead you towards one of the different products. And then you got to have clients, or you got to have vendors, affiliates who can provide these products and provide them consistently and do a great job. Do a job that you would do. You want them to treat your client like you treat your client. Like they're a friend, like they're somebody you care about. Like you're selling your best friend in the whole world a house, and you want to make sure that you keep the relationship all the way through the process and beyond. So every client should be that client. And you want your lenders and your title companies and you know, if you end up getting into an admin or your inspection companies, you want an inspection company that cares for your client as much as you do. And because you're building a brand. You're not just buying and selling houses, because that's you know, you're not operating one of those little turnstiles. People come through and they never come back. It's like this big, it's like a unity symbol. Like you sell them a house and they're out and you're keeping in touch. They come back around and then they buy a house and they sell another one. They come back around. So you're gonna build these relationships that are lifelong, and they're gonna refer their kids and their family members and their co-workers, and I've done entire families. I've done grandpas, grandmas. I've sold the in-laws, I've sold the family, I've sold their kids, I've sold the grandkids. And
Like when people say, I'm gonna call my attorney, they'll say, I'm gonna call my agent, it's my agent.
you want to be the person that say, oh, somebody says something, they're like, I don't know if that's right or not. Let me call Mark. Right? You want to be first of mind. Any question they have, and they have to feel comfortable enough to ask those questions at any time. And if you have like one of the things is when you're setting your parameters, like I've never I worked in a career where I would get calls at 3 o'clock in the morning and have to get up and go. So I never told my clients if if you're a third shifter and something pops up, shoot me a text. If I'm sleeping, I want to hear it. If I wake up, I'll either look at it and be like, I'll call them in the morning, or I'll just reply right back to you at 3 o'clock in the morning and go back to bed. If you don't want to answer calls after 9 and before 9, then set that standard. Just say, hey, if you find something, you're looking late at night, you find something, shoot me an email. I will get it first thing in the morning. I'll get back to you before 9 o'clock. And they go, oh, well, my mornings are terrible. I work thirds, I sleep during the day, so don't call me till 3. So what you're gonna do, you make a note, you're gonna put in your command, don't call this person till 3 because they're sleeping. So if they send you a thing at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're gonna know when you pull them up in your database, you're like, oh, Joe works thirds. He says, don't call him till 3 p.m. And then at 3:05, you're gonna reach out to him. And it's those little things that, show that you care. You're not making them bend to your will, but you're trying to work with their needs, their goals, their hopes.
Cause I could be a workaholic and I would have a tendency to just keep bending and bending and bending until I'm.
Well, I work 7 days a week. I work 7 days a week, work morning, noon, and nights. I work before the sun's up. I work till after the sun goes down. Last thing I do before I go to bed is real estate. First thing I do when I wake up is real estate. I love this business. I love helping people. It's one of the greatest gifts you can, is to help people with this extremely stressful situation. And then they come out on the other side with some real value, some real, like, something that's going to last their family for, years to come. And it's because you help them get there. So you cannot take that lightly. You cannot look at that as it's not a job, it's a calling. You got to be willing to be that person for your clients. So what I do, if I'm working at something like last night, I went to bed early, about 11:30. I went to bed last night, and I get up at 4:30 every morning. So I went to bed 11:30, and I was doing stuff for a client, and I have an app on my phone. I can type a text and set it to send at 9 o'clock in the morning. So like I don't have to like make a reminder to remind me to text them in the morning. I just set the timer on it, and then my phone will go boom, 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 and send out the messages when they need to go out according to my client's needs. But you work your schedule how you want to work it, set your parameters, make sure your clients are aware of that. And if text messages at 10 o'clock after work hours is okay, you can always ignore them. But if you're bored and you want to answer them, then answer. But build your business from the start how you want to run it. So the buyer agreement. So it details the services. You're going to want to go through that very detailed. So you're supposed to perform the buyer agreement, and we don't have those, but I don't have it with me, but basically you're going to want to read it, know it verbatim. We have a video about what it means and how to articulate it. So you're going to watch the video, you're going to practice it, and then when you meet with people, you're going to go through it. And there are going to be objections, like it talks about your commission. Your commission is not guaranteed, never has been, never will be, but you set a standard. Just as much as you called a plumber to come fix a clogged sink, he's got a minimum he's going to charge you, and he's so much an hour. He's got a fee. He should be able to articulate that fee up front. Well, I charge $65 an hour. I just had a contractor tell one of my clients, because he works for me, and we'll get into that's a whole different ballgame. But he's like, I charge $65 an hour. You're asking me to do about 40 different items around your house. He says it's easier for me if I just charge you by the hour and give you a ballpark of how many hours I think it's going to take me. But it's easier for me to give you, like, I think it's going to take me 12 hours to do this. do all these items, give or take a problem, and you'll know as the problems arise. But about $65 an hour. And if she says, okay, then great, $65 an hour, about 12 hours. And then he tries to stick to that. And obviously there's some things that can change that, speed it up and slow it down. But, or they'll be like, okay, well, you call Roto-Rooter to snake your drains. I just had them, I didn't realize the price had gone up so much, but they called a client of mine who had the sewer line in the basement backed up. And he had a foot of water in his basement. They wanted $2,000 to come out and snake that line.
Wow.
And I'm like, he owns a bunch of investment property. So I'm like, maybe you ought to invest in a device yourself so that you can have your handyman go grab it, bring it over here, snake it out. You're paying him $65 an hour to snake it out versus dropping $2,000 every time one of your properties has a clogged drain. And so we paid $2,000, but I mean, so we set our pricing in the buyer representation agreement. And your pricing is there's an administrative fee that you charge, and there's that you can or cannot charge. I mean, I charge administrative fee. Most agents do. You don't have to. And there's a commission amount. You can discount your commissions for any number of things. You can say buyers is this much, sellers is this much. You can say that if they're a repeat buyer, they get a deal, or if they refer you somebody, that person gets a deal. I mean, so there's all different ways you can set up your own commission structure, but figure that out. And if you need to have conversations about that, we can do that. But you figure it out, and that's what's going into the buyer agreement. So you're selling yourself. Hopefully you've sold yourself throughout this whole presentation. So when you get to the buyer's agreement, you're explaining it to them and they're signing it. Still currently, I'd say, without checking the market, still 90% of the listings, the sales out there, the seller will cover buyer fees. Not every seller is offering it. Sometimes if they want $200,000 for a house, the agent will tell you they're not paying buyer commission, so that offer has to go above. If you sign an agreement with your client for 3% on a $200,000 house, their offer needs to come in. They could come in at 200 and say, I want the fee. You can ask, they can say, well, I don't need seller pays, but you can say, I will give you 3% seller pays, and then you pay my fee. So out of the money you bring to the table, you can show them how all that washes out. Most sellers realize that the buyers need to ask for that fee because it's very expensive to buy a house. And so the seller pays it on the purchase or on the sale of their home, and then they don't have to pay it on the purchase. But it's open to every seller, every buyer can make that decision on their own. But there are ways to help a buyer out so they're not having to come up with $15,000 or $12,000 to walk through the closing table. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And that's standard. So if you add a buyer commission, that you're adding another 3% on top of that. So on a $200,000 house, 3% buyer commission, 3.5% of down payment for the house, the money the buyer has to contribute to get the loan. That's 6.5%. You're looking at 7,500 plus 6,000, which is what, like 13.5. So that's 13.5 plus you got to figure like another 1.5, 2% for lender costs, appraisal fees, title fees, all that stuff. So you might look at another $4,000 on top of that. So you're looking at $17,000, $18,000 to buy a $200,000 house. So we got to find some ways to reduce that number. If your buyer's like, yeah, not a problem. Mom and dad said they give me 25 grand to buy a house. Okay, great. So now we still going to ask for seller pays and whatnot because they can keep that money for furniture, moving expenses and everything else. But being able to walk through with the buyer and explain all the costs, there's a lot of costs in buying a house. And you can get grants, you get zero down loans. There's all kinds of stuff you can do for a buyer, but knowing you got to know a little bit about their finances, about how much money they have, what they're willing to spend, what they need to, if they don't have any furniture at all, and they're living at home with mom and dad and sleeping on, a futon, and they need a bed, they need a couch, they need a TV. So those are expenses. You don't want them, living out of milk crates, sleeping on a mattress on the floor. So they're going to need a little extra money. So you might want to try to find ways to give them some of that money then. Okay, so you're going through the buyer service agreement. You need to know it inside and out. There is, we have training on it that you can do, but every buyer, you have to fill that out. There are, I think, stuff like we don't need your eval, I don't think. But, KW cares. Kid Every Cares is a program, I won't get into it, but Kid Every Cares is a program where like every one of my deals, I donate so much money to a few different programs. Uh, so I have it automated and you can do it individually. You can be like, okay, on this one, I want to give $20 here, $10 here, whatever. But I set it up to where it automatically just comes out of my check, goes into these donation programs. They're really great. There's grants, there's KW Cares, and then there's a one for like empowering our youth, things like that. Like there's one, like if you have an agent that has their house burnt down
Oh,
or they're sick. Like we had an agent get sick and we ran their business for them for a few months till they got better. We give them a grant to help them get through some of the medical bills and stuff. So they're very worthwhile programs. I always recommend looking at those once you get started and try to make a contribution, even if it's just a very small amount. If it's $5 per closing, you do 10 closings, that's $50. You got 500 agents that do the $5 per closing and 50 closings in it. And somebody's life is changed by that very small contribution. And it's tax deductible. So, next, this is one of the other programs. This is it's an empowerment program for, basically youth. If you've got kids, it's a great program to teach your kids about life and business and goals and strategies and empowerment. And because it teaches them like the basics on how to look at life and how to grow to the life that they want to achieve. That's a great program. All right, so closing for the agreement, and we're almost done, I promise. So once you've gone through the buyer presentation, you want to segue into signatures and start the process. They say, okay, so do you have any more questions for me? I think I've covered everything about the process from where we are today to getting you in your home and beyond. We talked about commissions, we talked about the process, about the fees, the costs and whatnot. Any more questions for me? No, that's what we're gonna get. Every now and you'll get, oh, well, what about this? And so you'll go into that. Okay, what else we got? And you go into that, and then eventually you'll be like, any more questions? We're like, no. So, all right, so next step is we just need you to sign the buyer's agreement. And then I'll get you set up on a search, get you in touch with my lender, and we'll take it from there. We'll get started. I'm excited. Are you excited? You're excited, right? All right, let's sign it. And you're gonna spin it around, you're gonna hand them a pen, and they're gonna sign it. Because what I tell people is it's a contract. Contracts are to be honored. But if you're not doing your job, why should you hold somebody to a contract to work with you when you promise them the moon, but give them dirt? So if you convince people to work with you by what you can provide, your value proposition, the process, your personality, and you don't fulfill that proposition, are you violating the contract? If you're violating the contract by not providing them with that whole system you just displayed in front of them, then let them out of the contract. But I always start out with, hey, look, if you ever have a problem with something I'm doing, you don't think I'm touching base with you enough, you don't think I'm explaining stuff enough, you let me know, let's correct it, let's nip it in the bud, because I want you to love the process all the way through. And at the end of this process, I'm going to ask you to refer your family, your friends, your neighbors, everyone you meet. I'm going to want you to think, man, I like Joe. Mark did such a great job for me that I want Joe to get the same level of service that I got. And the only way I can get to that is if by providing you the very best level of service. And if you don't tell me when you want something increased, reduced, changed, then I'm not providing you with the very best level of service for you, because the level of service I think you need may not be what you want or what you need. So I want you to be honest with me. Can you be honest with me? What are they gonna say? Absolutely not. I'm gonna lie to you every step of the way. No, they're gonna say, yeah, I can be honest with you. And then they'll be like, great. So let's sign the agreement. Let's get started. And we're gonna have a great time, because if I can't meet your needs, I'll let you out of the agreement. But I know I'm gonna meet your needs because you already said you're gonna be honest with me. You're gonna tell me when I'm failing, when I'm not doing exactly how you want it. we're gonna work together, we're gonna make this a smooth process for you, you're gonna love every step of the way. And then you're gonna refer me all your friends, neighbors, and colleagues. And they're like, okay, and you're gonna spin it, they're gonna sign it. It's not rocket science. I mean, buyers will generally, if you meet them and you have rapport with them, right? You build that rapport, you have that desire, that mutual agreement to help them with this very intense process, they're gonna sign it. If you failed miserably and you ummed and ahhed and you didn't explain things correctly and you weren't prepared and they're like, yeah, we're gonna interview some other agents. Thank them for their time, ask them, I would start off with like, what didn't I cover? What do I need to explain more? I've got time. I want to make sure you're perfectly happy with the process. And they're like, no, we just want to interview some other people. And they're like, we're gonna go. They're gonna get up. They're like, bye, we don't like you, we're out of here. Okay, so what does that tell you? Go back to the drawing board, open up your study material and fix where you think you failed. And then even reach out to them a couple of days later and say, hey, are you ready to get started? Is there any question I can have for you? Oh, we went with this other agent. Okay, great. I'm happy you found an agent. Can you do me one favor though before we go? Can you tell me where I lost you? And get some constructive feedback and then use that to build it for the next one. And before you know it, like I said, I get 99% of the appointments I go on. And I go on appointments where they're like, oh, we're interviewing 4 other agents after you. I'm like, well, as soon as we're done, you're gonna be like, no, I want to interview those agents. We're just gonna sign the paperwork and go. How about that? They're like, we'll see. You know, you make it light and fun. And as long as you can build that connection with them, yeah, they're gonna go with you. And there might be something like they want to hear what you have to say, but they're gonna call their cousins, nephews, brothers, uncle. And because they promised him they'd buy a house with them. And they're an idiot. And there's nothing you could do to beat that. So there's always going to be that. But you know, you always, those are the great ones that you work on your value proposition with. All right. Are we done? We might be done because yes, I think we're going, yeah, I think we're done.
Mark, I said, come in.
All right, so we can talk about the KWM. That's something you're gonna give your clients. Okay.
Do you use that, Mark?
You use you've seen the daily success system, right? All that is you're just adding in your calls, your appointments, and your agreements and closings. It's really a great thing to do. Like I started using scrap paper and I would like try to make notes. But something like this, I don't use that for what it is. I use it to keep track of my day because I've designed, your business needs to have goals. You need to have so many conversations a day. Your lead gen, that's those calls you got to make to get started, to get into business. And what some people will tell you is, you know, do 10. If you can do 10, great. You're going to be solely in real estate. So you're going to do calls all day long until you get an appointment. I mean, until you get an appointment. So somebody says, yeah, I'll meet with you. Then you put them on the books. And if it's early on in your day, you keep on calling and get another appointment. But if you wrap up your day and you're like, I'm done, I'm exhausted, and you haven't gotten an appointment, you better have been lead genning the entire day. Because every day you want to build an appointment. And then your day starts taking those timelines, right? You're like, okay, well, from noon to 5, I'm in appointments all day. So now you're like, you start your day at 7 a.m. and you're like, from 7 to 11, I'm going to do my lead gen. And then as appointments creep in, you get busier and busier and busier. Try to time block that lead gen time and protect it. And if it goes away, but you've got to meet somebody at 9, then find some other time during the day to pick that up and do it again. Even if it's like 10 o'clock at night, you're going to get that extra hour and a half that you didn't get because you had an appointment that morning. Then do some lead gen stuff, and you can do emails, you can do, you know, database updates, you can stalk them on social media and add their social media accounts. That's all considered like building that platform out. But yeah, so that's it. Just when are you taking your test?
Well, I need to do my application and figure out how to get her signature of the.
How to get
You gotta have the account number.